All right, guys, what's going on? So in this video, I kind of wanted to do like a quicker, shorter one. Reason is this particular topic is not something that's particularly complex, I don't think at least. And it's more of a general positioning change that allowed me to take what my initial starting like web design offer was back when I was only doing say like 10, 20 grand a month, 5 to 10x the revenue in a very, very short period of time. So I think a great place to start here is, as you can see, by the way, just so you know that this is actually not like horse shit. This is Hyro's dashboard, as you can see, do huge numbers. I don't see anyone else post things like this in the web design space. Everyone's like, the most they'll post is like, oh, I closed a single $10,000 deal, or, oh, I got to 15K a month. It's like, what about 10 to 15K a day, right? Anyway, just so you know that this is actually coming from like a place or someone that knows what they're doing, right? So I think a great place to start here is the problem. Now, the problem that most web design businesses have is even thinking about just starting from like even how we address what kind of business it is, right? Web design businesses struggle to scale past the 6-figure per month mark. Excuse me. Not because they are incapable of creating solid designs. They don't know how to market themselves, which they technically don't know how to market themselves, but it's not like they don't understand the literal, like, okay, marketing channels, either like paid ads or organic content, cold outreach, doesn't matter. It's not that they don't understand the marketing channels, and it's not like they, provided you're actually fulfilling your customers properly, you don't have any problem delivering on promises to clients. So they don't struggle to scale because of these issues of design problems, portfolio problems, development and tech problems, not understanding the basics of marketing and sales, things along those lines. They struggle because inherently web design or web development as an offer only focuses on one component of their customers' marketing and sales infrastructure. One thing to keep in mind here is that at the end of the day, when the only service you're providing is related to the website of a particular client or customer, you are limited in that is only one part of their entire like marketing and sales infrastructure, right? Which means that you don't have your fingers in and you don't have control over the other things that matter. For example, like advertising, sales process, depending on what type of business it is, obviously, but you get what I mean. If you don't have control over those other parts, you cannot demonstrate as much of a measurable ROI to clients, right? So what this limited scope results in essentially is almost like a downward spiral is one way of putting it, but it's almost like a catch-22 situation where because of the fundamental, what the actual like a web design service is dealing with prevents the, what we'll just call it like web designer, web developer, doesn't matter. We'll just say like the we'll just say us. That prevents us from having control of the things that allow us to achieve, claim responsibility for, and showcase measurable and tangible results, testimonials, and case studies of previous work done. For example, if all you do is design work or say development work, like setup offers, like a website setup offer, realistically, you are not getting like up in the guts of the advertising metrics, lead generation, sales process, anything along those lines. So you cannot truly claim responsibility in the way that you need to be able to. And because you're not involved with those pieces of advertising, marketing and sales, anything along those lines, you cannot collect those as case studies, testimonials, or show those results in the same way that, let's say like an advertising agency could. And now the problem is that in order to get more clients consistently, or customers, doesn't matter the terminology we're using, in order to charge higher prices, and even do things that are more on like a retainer basis or a revenue share basis, we need to be able to demonstrate a track record of measurable ROI delivered to customers in the past, right? So we're kind of in a weird situation where we need to be able to demonstrate measurable ROI in order to get customers that are willing to pay us more consistently, and be able to actually get messaging traction. That's why, like, if you've ever ran ads before where it's just simply like, oh, we'll build you a website. It's almost like you're putting the expectation of understanding the ROI of that onto the viewer of that ad, for example, which is a problem because, let's be honest here, most people are fucking stupid. Which means that you need to very clearly outline and explain to them from like beginning to end what the actual like value proposition is. But if you just say like, yeah, like we do web design and web development, it's not immediately understandable what the ROI is. And if you have to like give an extremely long-winded explanation of that, that's a problem, right? It needs to be much clearer. So in this catch-22 situation of like needing to demonstrate measurable ROI to command higher pricing and needing to show it, we're kind of in like this weird situation where it's like what the hell what do we like post content about? What do we post marketing messaging, meaning like advertising, stuff like that, and so on. Well, fundamentally, what the solution to this is, because I mean it's pretty self-explanatory. Because if we just stay in this kind of limbo state, that's why if anyone watching this already does has a web design agency or anything, then you know that this weird situation of like you've probably experienced it before, where it's like a very feast and famine revenue, where like client comes in, it's a really solid deal, then you're kind of like stuck in this horrendous fulfillment loop of just like doing lots of custom like BS work that's not directly related to a tangible ROI, which means that you can't put time into more lead generation, which means that you can't close more deals, X, Y, and Z. So it's kind of like, that's why I said downward spiral earlier. It results in this weird situation where you can't get out of it necessarily. So what the solution is, and I'll give an example momentarily of what I did in order to solve this, is, we need to decide whether, it's a like chicken and the egg situation. Well, we need to decide whether or not we want to start with the chicken or the egg, right? Like which comes first. So we can either, in terms of solution, because one of these needs to occur, meaning that we need to either create tangible results in order to market more of them, or we need to start marketing about tangible results in order to get people who want to purchase a product or service from us that can help them get that tangible result, right? In order to make our marketing messaging hit harder. Because like, let's be honest, if you say to let's just say e-commerce business, doesn't matter what niche or what kind, if you say like, oh, look how pretty this jewelry store is, okay, how far is that actually going to get you, right? As like the web designer, in terms of like getting people interested, it's like, okay, prettiness. But if you say, when I changed this jewelry e-commerce website store over to this formatting and did this on the product detail pages, it bumped their conversion rate up 1%, which means that they did, $75,000 a month more revenue without having to spend more on ads. Which one of those is going to bring in more paying clients? It's pretty straightforward, right? So, given that that's the case, step numero uno is we need to start in all, let's say like posting content, anything along those lines. The first thing that we need to do is we need to start making our messaging more about the tangible results than the website itself. Remember, the website is only a mechanism. It is only a bridge medium of traffic, right? Like traffic comes from social platforms or search platforms, and the website is just the bridge of bridging the traffic to the product, right? So we need to start putting out marketing messaging related to that. For example, unfortunately, you can't see it anymore on my old TikTok. I don't have them saved anymore. It's because the the first TikToks I posted were so cringe that when I went back and looked at them, it was like horrendous. But I was basically posting content along the lines of just like general like stuff about like websites and general like e-commerce related stuff. And my first deals that I got in related to like web design and development, I was selling like a $4,000 offer just for like a setup and basic like follow-on consulting and stuff for like questions and kind of anything people needed, which was fine. It worked well. It's not necessarily like problematic, really. It just wasn't enough, if that makes sense. Like I just wanted to make way fucking more than I was making. I was like 10 to 20K a month, like nothing serious, right? And then what I started to do is I noticed people were like, oh, can you like comment on, give any recommendations on what I should do to improve my e-commerce business, whatever type of business it was. And I started this series essentially where all I was doing on TikTok, this is literally just on TikTok, by the way. All I was doing was, okay, if I was optimizing the store, here's what I would do. And people would just keep commenting over and over and over every time I posted one, resulting in, and I would just like post, I would just post results I got, right, from any and all work I had done. But I just kept doing this over and over and over of just giving people, essentially, they would comment the URL of their brand and their store or landing page, whatever it might have been. And I would basically just roast it, essentially. Give them like 2 to 3 things to change, explain why, make a CTA for other people to comment, right? Their stores, anyone that's watching, just comment. That simple. That's all I would do. I would be looking for nothing else. I just wanted to make more content about this to just demonstrate outwards to thousands of people that I was competent in this and I could do that. Like, meaning I could perform conversion rate optimization, which is not that difficult. And what that resulted in was me being like just running this series over and over and over. See, like 19, 20, let's see here. I don't think I have the cover, but 47 episodes later, 48 episodes later. And every time I would do this, I would message the people after commenting, and meaning I would message the person that commented after I did the audit, right? So after I posted the response to it, then I would just message them afterwards and be like, hey, if you want to, if you're interested in me actually doing stuff like this for you, just like literally let me know and book a call and we could talk about it. Next thing you know, started closing deals. I don't have like a picture of it right here. I'll post it in like another video somewhere. Maybe at some other point. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Somewhere here. Hold on. Let me see if I can find this shit. No. It's not here. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find this. Where the hell is it? I have it here somewhere. I know I have it. I don't have it in here. Anyway, I was going to show like retainers that I had closed where it was like $7,500 a month for, just like conducting split tests on people's stuff. There was like a couple of ones that were more consulting basis, $2,000 a month. And long story short, it basically, what this does, this kind of flywheel, and I know I'm going over this very quickly, but it's because I think just from like a general standpoint, it's all that's really necessary. All I was doing was just putting myself in a position where there was clearly like thousands of people asking for assistance with just like basic optimization. There were so many comments, I literally couldn't do them all myself. I literally couldn't hit every single person. There were so many people asking for it, right? And what this did was created essentially like a tertiary level of social proof and implied social proof that so many people wanted to work with me that it was very easy for people to come in and ask for assistance with just, now, big distinction here. It went from doing full, done-for-you, hands-on, all this crap for like, $4,000 roughly. Sometimes they were as low as 2,500 depending on the scope of the work. But it transitioned over from done for you one-time service. That was like this whole all-encompassing, from top to bottom, you're just getting in all the weeds and all the details, and it was a pain in the ass, right? If you guys have done this before, then you know what I mean. And like setting up the whole website and everything from scratch, the branding, all the crap, just annoying. And it went from that, and by taking this positioning, it allowed for the positioning I'm referring to is all these people asking for assistance and me just like following up with the people that I did like audits for and whatnot. That resulted in me essentially being in like a higher status position than them. I'm not saying literally like, oh, I'm better than them, but from like a fundamental standpoint, people, they asked because they were coming in and asking for help, not vice versa. And me like cold outreach and like, hey, can I work on your business? Can I update your website? They actually like were coming to me. That changed it to where I was no longer doing a full setup. I was just tweaking what they already had working, meaning people that were already running traffic to begin with. So they had more money. They were willing to pay for ongoing services and more, like not done with you services, but more on like almost like a consultative and just a tweaking basis. I was fixing what they already had and essentially dealing with better customers because they were not starting off from scratch, right? So, and all I had to do after that was every time someone came in and I got them results, I'm going to turn off the audio really quick.
I keep telling people to do to boost their...
Okay. So I was literally just posting results. Like they started like this one, 1.87% conversion rate. After the split test I did, 2.3%. Little things like that, right? So adding in different payment methods, like adding in stuff like nothing crazy at all, right? Really like that. It's that simple. Just performing basic tweaks on people's, I know I'm like skipping through this really quickly, but I'm just trying to get across a general idea to you of positioning. All I did for the positioning change here was simply just going from talking about like, oh, here's how to make sure that your website works well right off the bat to like people that already have existing businesses. Here's how it would increase your conversion rate, and doing like live demonstrations of competence over and over and over. I don't even remember how many videos I did. It was like 50, 60, 70 or something like that. And then eventually transferred into like me doing stuff more in a specific niche for like moving away from e-com more to people that ran lead generation and like sales call or courses and stuff like that. Just what, the direction it went. But main steps, honestly, is just going from, or the main positioning step I kind of want to communicate here is that moving from a model of the messaging being here, let's say old version of messaging that limited scalability. I create, design, and set up websites from scratch, right? That's, I guess, not literally what the messaging was, but it was along those lines. New version of messaging that limited or that allowed for increased, God damn it. This keyboard I'm using is like, the keys are very different than a normal Apple keyboard, so it's when you're typing fast, the spelling, it's wrought with spelling errors when you try to type fast. New version of messaging, tweaking existing businesses, websites in order to scale in order to improve what they're already doing. Actually, hold on. I tweak existing businesses' websites in order to improve on the traffic, improve the conversions from the traffic they are already generating or paying for. Long story short, basically, what you need to do in order to properly scale a web design agency, in simple terms here, is essentially go from a web design agency to conversion rate optimization, which, if you guys do not know, CRO is an extremely high expected value service to clients, meaning the ROI that they would get from paying someone to perform CRO on their existing digital assets like website, funnel, X, Y, and Z is so much astronomically higher than just like design work. And it requires so much less time expenditure and effort on your part. And you generate so much more value too. Like, imagine being able to just perform 2 split tests. And if you don't know, split tests, like, they are not that hard to execute on and ideate and produce. It's, once you get good, maximum, you're spending 3 to 5 hours a month with a particular client. And you can, especially when you start getting like any and all team members to execute on things on your behalf. And if you're good, like it's, the time expenditure is very low because you're essentially it's almost like finance in a way, not literally, but I'm not going to get too off track here. But the main thing I want to communicate here, the biggest positioning change that is going to allow for massively increased scalability for your web design agency while you're still doing client work. I should also imagine before you become like an offer owner and whatnot. The biggest change that you can do is you simply need to change the positioning of your marketing and the value proposition that you're demonstrating away from just like design and setup and little like tech BS to just more revenue from performing X action and demonstrating that over and over and over again. Mind you, at the time that I don't remember exactly. I wish I'd recorded this better, but I think by the time that I was already, scaling past like 30, 40, 50K a month, I hadn't even like posted that many videos, if I'm being honest. And the cool thing about this too is that you have so much ammunition to go off of here. And I got like a little funny with it sometimes. I would just like roast people's stuff, but you can like talk about the content, like everything in relation to it. Because at that point, when you're dealing more with like generating more revenue, not just like websites, you have so much more ammunition for content as well. And that allows for far more output to generate traffic from. Also, you don't ever get, not like bored, but you don't ever get like, oh, what do I post about? I can't post about like websites again. So not only do you have so much more ammunition to generate traffic from, but your fulfillment is far more scalable. And because it's almost like a compound effect where because you have so much more to talk about, you have more traffic, which results in more booked calls, more closed deals, more money, and because you have more clients and ammunition on that side too of like, okay, I tweaked this thing, conversion rate went up, money printer go burr. That's more content for you to post on, which, the flywheel keeps going, right? So that's the main thing here. And this isn't even talking about like paid traffic and stuff yet. I'm just talking about like the general positioning change alone that is literally going to allow you to like quintuple your current revenue, whatever you're at, moving away from just web design, web setup, because that's the hardest skill, right? Like, let's be real, that is the most time consuming and the most like the most amount of skill required to moving over to like whether you're just attaching a marketing specialization to the web design stuff. That's literally it. That's all you need to do, and it overnight you'll just massively improve because there's actually like a revenue and like a tangible ROI attached to the whole thing you're even talking about. Like right here, notice how like in this video, I start out with, I don't talk about here's the web design for my web design agency that I use and I've been going for this many years, da 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 da. Notice how I'm leading here with, here's, there's like 5,000 different things I could talk about that helped increase revenue, and I only have to draw one out of like the 5,000 of them. And I can, positioning change, this positioning change, and essentially strategic difference and strategic change allowed for me to, in the long term, this wasn't immediate, obviously. I didn't go from 20K a month to over 250K a month overnight. But a big thing here is like, in the fulfillment, you have to do less. Literally, like, how do you make your fulfillment more scalable? You need to do less in the fulfillment, or the activities you do in the fulfillment. Each individual one is of significantly greater ROI to not justify having to do less like you're lazy, but it's like, if you were to do the same amount of work, you need to way higher ROI to the client, which results in more referral volume. You can actually charge retainers. Like, I swear to God, genuinely, imagine going from like charging $2,000 to $4,000 like one-time setup offers, or maybe, 5 or 10K here or there for, just like building something from scratch, having to do God knows how much work, to $7,500 per month retainers for only changing 2 things a month, like conducting 2 split tests a month, like one every 2 weeks, and $7,500 a month retainer. You can stack 10 of those, 75 grand a month, recurring, and you only have to manage 20 website changes per month. Essentially, effectively, that's what split tests are. There's obviously like a little bit more like math and stuff behind it and data and whatnot, but you get the point, I hope. That alone can cause such a massive differential in total how much ammunition you have for content to put out. Excuse me. How much ammunition you have for content to put out. You have so many more topics, and it's about, demonstrable proof, right? Like all these different things that come together to just make all of it work better together. It's amazing. So much less stress, so much more volume. The people that come in are better because they're not nickel and diming over like, I don't know about $4,000 for my website setup. I don't know about that. Is it worth the investment? It's like, okay, you're just wasting time at this point. Like, get the fuck out of here. It's ridiculous. Like, you just stop dealing with that kind of immature client base, right? Because the expected value of what you're dealing with, like one of the brands that I was working with, for example, I was charging $7,500 a month, right? Month 1, I remember conducting a split test on their product detail pages. It's very simple. It was changing the copy. I'm not even joking, by the way. It was changing the copy on the call to action button and just adding in the little the credit card icons below the call to action button for, the add to cart button on their product detail pages. Immediate conversion rate. I don't remember the exact numerical increase. I just remember calculating the annual revenue increase from that one change was like $735,000 a year in additional revenue because they were already doing so much in revenue. It was like $8 million a year already. Yes, they did come in from TikTok, by the way. Just straight from TikTok to a Calendly. That's it. No cold DMing, no bullshit like that. It was one call close. That one change alone, like $735,000 a year in additional revenue just from that one change. And I basically paid for myself almost 100 times over. Actually, wait, is that right? Am I tripping on the numbers? Hold on, calculator. Yeah, I literally, in the first 2 weeks, I had literally paid for my own retainer nearly 100 times over. So it's really freaking easy for that customer or that client to justify continually paying that. This is what I'm talking about. Where it's like that kind of scale, like you don't get that kind of like just hiring another designer and things along those lines for a web design agency alone is not going to provide that much of a scalability increase. It's not possible. I don't care if you're doing like $10,000, $15,000, $40,000, $50,000 setup offers. That kind of scalability and with that kind of margin is not achievable with a standard like website setup agency where it's like, yeah, we're going to do all this, redundant design and development work when it's like, what if all your fulfillment was, and hear me out here, what if all your fulfillment was just conducting a single split test, a single experiment on their site from their existing traffic twice a month, once every 2 weeks. You perform the split test, or you perform the change, and while you're conducting the split test, you work on the assets and whatnot for the next one. Does not take very long because you only change one thing at a time. That's part of basic conversion rate optimization. And the massive differentials in revenue from that you generate for the clients justify retainers, revenue shares. That's where it gets even crazier. Revenue shares, all that kind of stuff. So I don't mean to belabor this point that much longer, but I just want to make it extremely clear that, hiring another designer or like, adding in a slightly different price point and having two packages, that is like you'll get such only like very incremental percentage gains to your monthly revenue by operating under that frame of mind in terms of like, oh, we're going to scale by just adding more designers and stuff. It's like, well, what if you only had one designer and you had 10 people paying you $7,500, $10,000 a month for something where you're generating an astronomical more amount of revenue? You see, like you can't get that kind of scalability and also consistency from just like standard web design stuff, right? So anyway, that's kind of like all I wanted to hit on this one. I'm going to be dropping more stuff soon. What I will say to you guys that are watching this YouTube video is, first of all, as you can see, this is my second channel, but this is a relatively new one. Like and subscribe. And then just as well, comment below this video ideas you want to see next regarding launching, scaling, anything to do with this sort of positioning of like web design agency, things along those lines, right? And yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Comment below what videos you want to see. I'm going to be doing this a lot more consistently from here on out. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next one. I have some good stuff coming for y'all.